Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another installment of From the Comments. Boy, do I love a From the Comments. Because From the Comments is from whence springs ideas that I would not ordinarily have on my own. Or it just reinforces an idea that I might have had on my own. And then I'm like, well, now I'm going to do it. Back-to-back comments. Might as well have just been one comment. When I had done the test on the Endura, I think it was on the Endura ESC, and I was doing the test on all the motors, right? And I had said that the biggest drawback to the gearbox that's in this gentleman, the Stealth XF, is that effectively the smallest pinion you can fit is an 18-tooth. And it has a tiny little spur gear because it uses a little intermediate gear, so right there under the plug, that's the spur gear, that little guy right down there. It's either a 45 or a 48 tooth. I can never remember. It's pretty small. And then the motor is mounted to the plate. And then you have this intermediate gear. And the intermediate gear is something like 1.6 to 1. So it basically makes an 18 tooth act like between a 12 and a 13. So you can't basically go below. And a 12 or a 13 would be fine. But on a Stealth X, which is the conventional one, we'll run a 12-tooth pinion with an 87-tooth spur gear. So it's what I have called in other comments the minimum acceptable level of gear reduction. I want to say it's in the high 30s, right around 40 to 1, running an 18-tooth pinion. Where if you'll see the gap between there, you'd think, oh well, you could fit a 17. Well, see this screw. Because they're offset, this screw is all the way over. So it's basically as close as you can get. You can get a very tight mesh on an 18 or a very loose mesh on a 17. And I don't know, that was a decision. If they had made this plate 3 millimeters taller, if they had made these holes parallel so that you could just slide the motor side to side, you would be able to get a much smaller pinion on there. You'd be able to go down to like a 10, and then you could get this thing properly slow. And I guess they wanted to do it in an effort to keep the motor down low. I don't know. I don't know what those decisions are. I don't know how those decisions are made. I have soldered up bullets onto the two motors in question. You see the torqueless wonder of the world. Ordinarily, if you have a motor attached to a gear like this, you can't do this. There's virtually no resistance. It is the torqueless wonder of the world. And this is the 550. The 540s are worse. And I had lamented over the 540 for so long that someone was like, I'll take it. So I think when all of the stock electronics left, the G4P went with an SC480. It went with the 16-turn 540, which is, of course, faster than the 14-turn 550 and with less torque. So someone in the comments made a comment where they said, could you test that motor on 4S? And I was like, yes, I absolutely can. That is made possible by the RadioLink Cool 9030, an inexplicable speed control, which I still think was a translation over from boats. I think this is a boat speed control, and then they added the ability to put drag brake to it because brushed 4S, is that a thing? Apparently a lot of boats run on 4S, but I had to install bullets. Ugh, these are not going to want to go together. I had to install bullets because the wires on this are woefully short. They're about 4 inches long, and you kind of have to stick the speed control. I could have done it with the other motor that we'll be testing after this one. We're doing two motors, and we're doing a From the Comments 1.5. Running the Reedy Crawler 550 14-turn on 4S is plucked directly from the comments. But then the guy wants to see an 80-turn on the XF, and I've never tried an 80-turn on the XF. I personally think that the 80 turn on the usual voltage that we would be running, which would be a 3S pack, which you'll notice looks conspicuously like that one. 2200 3S, 1300 4S. They're about the same watt hours, so you get about the same runtime. That is 19.24 watt hours, and this is 24. So you get a little bit less runtime out of that. But I desperately want to see if, and like, here's what I'm talking about. You should not be able to do this. Now, it's not energized, but still, there should be some sort of magnetic resistance occurring in the motor, at least a little bit. Going from one speed control to another in close proximity to one another, it's like, how many beeps is it going to be when I do this? I haven't had to calibrate a Cool 9030 in a long time. You know, it feels like, I mean, ordinarily you can't do this. You can't just overwhelm the motor like that. But here's the real issue. Yeah. So we're gonna test this. We're gonna do a little mush about on 550 14 turn 5 slot on 4S via the Cool 9030. And then, where is he? We're gonna do the 80 turn, which I figured if I'm already soldering bullets, I'll solder another set of bullets. Hackmoto V2 80 turn, also on 4S. This is the equivalent of volt up, gear down. We're going to volt up, KV down. Do I know if this motor is rated to handle 4S? Don't care. This motor is already warm. It runs so hot. In another comment, someone asked, do you think that you could use it in any non-rock crawling application? Could you use it in some sort of bashing, rock bouncing, rock racing, some sort of application? I honestly don't think so. This motor runs so hot, and it is freshly, I use the Liberty Oil Products 100% synthetic oil. This guy is freshly oiled. He was oiled before the last test. I oiled him again. Honestly, there's already warmth in this motor, and I've done one little hit of the throttle. So I think that thing is going to be as hot as a furnace when it comes off there. And to half quote a meme, if he dies, he dies. So I won't be at any loss about it. Related, there will be more Injora ESC testing coming up in the near far term, including Injora head-to-head directly against the 1080. I ordered a pair of motors so that I can do a direct side-by-side test of one versus the other, where I can just hot swap one over and test it that way. 35 turn, which is a little crisp for, as I said, for the XF gearbox, but 35 turn is applicable to most everything else. So I want to see what this does, and then, I should be able to just bring this and this, and I should be able to swap it out there. So I'm going to put the Hackmoto in my pocket. We're going to try an 80 turn, which will have its KV, its turn rating at 7.2 volts, and we're going to run it on double that, because they're like $14 motors. Let's feed it 4S and find out what happens. If they die, they die. But I am curious. I want to see if we can get any drag brake out of this thing at all. I don't know. I have no idea. Let's find out together. Come with me, and you'll see a world of ridiculous stupidity. I realize, so the servo was developing a little bit of it sounds a little twitchy, and it occurs to me, this servo has never in its life experienced 4S. So while I don't know if I'd classify it as likely, it is entirely possible that somebody gonna die today. Do we have any drag brake? Still no. There's no there's okay, all right. So the RC4S has a full throttle curve that you can put in. All right. So we are going to try to soften this curve as much as possible. Like, basically, we're just going to take the top end out. Smoothing, smoothing, smoothing. Okay. So here's where we're going to glare. There. There's where we're going to try to land on the throttle curve. Can we slow this down at all? Oh yeah. I have to pull about 50% throttle to get any motion. Oh, it's honestly, it's kind of controllable now. But there's no drag brake in it at all. Oh, that really helped. Oh. Okay, can we double frame it? Watch. Just nothing, and then it's nice and slow though. The problem is, because how much curve is in there, the very top of the throttle is here we go now. The Reedy Crawler, it cannot be salvaged. Like, it doesn't matter what speed control you attach it to. All right, let's go to the screen where I can see what I'm doing. And we're gonna go like a minus, look at this, it rolled all the way to the flat. Now let's go like -6. Wow. Do you want to know how little torque this motor has? So that get the glare, that -22 is the torque setting, because throttle is reversed, is the throttle setting for cruise control. So without cruise control activated, if I come up here and let it go, it's basically like there's no motor attached. So the -22, then we click this and the little slider will go like that. So now we have 22. That's cruise control at 22%. You can hear the pulse width whine of the whole thing. I did this because ooh, it really softens the reverse too. I wanted to see how much heat we can put into this motor. Like that right there, that's the motor energized and under load, but absolutely not doing anything, because that's what this motor does, is not anything. Now, the cruise control adding 22% of the throttle, it takes away some of the deadband, but it also makes it even more peppy. And there's no shortage of pep. I will tell you something. I am already noticing, we've got 3 minutes, I'm already noticing the feel on the trigger feels a little mushy. Oh, it's getting more drag brake, and I don't have cruise control turned on. Ooh, the throttle is definitely getting softer. We are getting less throttle response. Ooh, that was that reverse one. Let me poke a hand in here, wisely or unwisely. It's really difficult to find a spot to touch the motor. It's not hot. It's warm. It's definitely warm. Oh, and we have another stripped out axle housing. Delightful. Does anybody make a is anybody making alloy element housings yet? I think I need an alloy front housing for this guy because I've stripped out the splines on yet another axle housing. Honestly, it feels kind of good. I am really concerned that the drag brake is increasing. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's also not full rolling back. Okay, well, the beauty is we have a button. I go to throttle expo, I go to forward curve, and I go here where it says, so right there, we've got mode on. So we go to inhibit, and then, woo! It's not controllable. It's not controllable at all. Do you want to break your stuff? Do you want to break your stuff? If you want to break your stuff, I've got your recipe right here. You take the stock Reedy motor, you put a Cool 9030 on it, you just throw a 4S in there. The Cool 9030 is doing some decent work. Pulse width's a little loud. I mean, I realize now. After soldering it up, this is an unofficial, but definitely, is it canon? Yes, of the Weekly Dumb series. This is dumb. A Reedy Crawler 550 on 4S is dumb. It is so fast. I don't think that number on the can means anything, because a 550 14 turn would be roughly in the neighborhood of a 540 27 turn, something like that. This is definitely hotter than that. Any real application of the throttle feels like an on-off switch. But you know what it can do? It can, okay, it's about as slow as I can physically manage. Oh, look at that, look at that. Yep, and yet another element axle housing, fully stripped out. The splines, they don't do it. Oh yeah, that's not good. Let's see if I can just twist it back manually. There we go, that's pretty much even. And I am on brass clamping, and it doesn't matter. Here's how badly it's stripped out / bent. I can, and we can just do, let's see if I can do it for camera. Yeah, there we go. We should not be able to do that, or that, or that. It's even-ish. It's even enough. Problem is the amount of torque that we're putting through it is just torquing it around. Yeah, it's not smart, and you cannot volt a 550 until you can the 550 Reedy Crawler until you get torque out of it. It just doesn't work. It is the worst crawler motor, in my estimation, without competition. And it might be one of the worst motors ever. So from living a life just tossed into a drawer, racing Hackmoto V2 80 turn, powered it up, nothing's happening. I'm like, did we blow everything up already? Then I look a little more closely at it, and one of the brush springs just, fell off. It just fell off. I don't know. It's between here and there. It's somewhere. I just went to an old motor and pulled a brush spring off of it and threw it on the 80 turn. Ooh, that is... Now, this This is a very different, that was weird. This is a very different experience. Oh, we've got low speed, man. I don't know if we have any top end. Well, let's try to... I'm desperately trying to keep that C-hub from spinning around. Look at the... Oh. Oh, there's a downside to everything, right? Okay, ready? That's wide out. There's reverse. This is sub 2 miles an hour now. Now, we are on the smallest pinion. Oh, it's so smooth. Oh. It feels like having a gear, you know, it's got a granny gear now. We are, and mind you, oh, I wanted to see nose down. Get me back up. Canyon trails don't work great in reverse. That's not bad. The drag brake is not bad. Now, mind you, the super slow that we dialed in, thankfully that is off. This is just unmodulated, unregulated. This is just how slow this combo will go. Yeah, I still think 45 turn is probably the sweet spot on an XF. You can get away with a 35 turn, but that's why I like it on like on day-to days on a 1200 kV. Look at how slow this is. And it borders on the electronic anchor. You can go so slow. And oddly, it feels like there's still power to it. 80 turn 4S is the opposite of what we were experiencing just a moment ago. The speed is obviously, but look at how slow we can, and not just slow, we're moving forward. I would honestly, okay, let's go to the gates. Okay, it is just under walking pace, wide open. So I would honestly say just like a 20 tooth pinion, maybe a 21. But the low is, this is almost fusion low. Just enough, it almost has just enough bump to allow you some repositioning. I don't know if we can saw that back. Oh, that was we were out, and I pulled us back in. I don't know. I oddly don't hate it. And in the frame of sheer economy, the Cool 9030 is what, 25 bucks? Those motors are about 15. I think I've seen Ghoul Sky and others hawking 80 turns. It's so I mean, this at the price, look, I can't even say at the price point. This low speed control is crazy because it's so slow. But apparently, if you feed an 80 turn 4S, it's got enough hoots to get you moving. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. And 40 bucks. This 40 bucks. This may be the golden ticket for an extremely limited number of applications.
I mean, I think actually what we have is, this might be, yeah, 2-speed. Yeah, we need a 2-speed. Because then you could gear the first gear down to where you couldn't go much faster than this. And then second gear could actually prove to be useful. But with any amount, like certainly not anything portaled, not even in the neighborhood, any reasonable amount of gear reduction, and this is going to be way too slow. This is for folks who've straight axle. You've got a gearbox laying around that does not have a lot of gear reduction. Capra box, TRX4 gearbox. Throw some straight axles on a TRX4 gearbox. I think your final drive is like 30-1, 27-1, something like that. This could work. The application of this is so limited. But it genuinely feels really good. Okay, I'm mechanical on something. Can we get over it and not shoot my rear end over? I don't know. I kind of love it. I mean, it makes me want to build a rig out of scraps and put that exact motor ESC combo in it because it's so slow. I love how slow it is. Because what I would like to do here is 4, 5, 6 in one frame. No cuts, no edits, no moving. Get that bumper over. Hopefully it didn't rock back too far the other way. Okay. Oh. Okay. We will allow a reverse as I am 20 feet away from the vehicle right now. Depth perception is right out. And I think you could probably tweak the throttle curve a little bit. And by that, I mean maybe dial it up a little. Ooh, I looked down at the monitor. But the low, man. Look at that pull around. Okay. Need to steer back the other way. Did I drop too far? Yes, sir. Hey! All right, here's an unintended approach. Oh. It is definitely crawling speed. This is a vehicle that has the first gear. That's all it has. Imagine living your whole life in your vehicle with one gear. But man, will it pull. So props already to the... There we go. The fine control is enviable. Did I go too far? Nope. Oh, we're straight. Oh, we're straight through that. It is opposite spectrum, and I'm not even. Yes, it's a consideration, but I'm ignoring the fact that we just pulled the abomination that is the Reedy Crawler out of here. I'm talking about the low speed is so much better than I would have anticipated. Need to position this way a little more. Need to cut back, and what I want to do is not tap that top marker off. I need to get that rear tire down a little lower. Wrap it, wrap it. This is not a wheel speed game with this. Oh, I'm crossed up there. We will. It's like we're stability enhanced. There's not enough wheel speed. Like the initial tip in of the wheel speed is so incomparably low that in situations where you would ordinarily get stuck in, like I got my bumper stuck in right there. Well, I'll just reposition it around. There's no opportunity to get wheel slip because there's no opportunity to get wheel speed. We've got a real overload on that. Can I hop it over? The maneuverability is through the roof. We're getting a little bit of a mechanical right there. I mean, it's not perfect. And I am going to be very anxious after attempting 7 gates to see what kind of temperature we're getting out of the motor. Yeah, I needed to be further this way. Can we pull it back? Okay, can I get the slider off of there? Yeah, I mean you can, and it will self-right. He's very good at that. Our caster still looks okay. We haven't punched that knuckle all the way out. I don't remember what the 80 turn translation is into kV. I just know it's very low. 700, something like that. It's an outrunnery. We don't have the torque. We don't have the outright torque of an outrunner. But it is like that initial tip-in torque is high. And the lower the turn count of a motor, the more wattage that motor, the higher wattage, so the higher power that motor is. So an 80 turn is like a government limited intake 4-cylinder. And a 12 turn is like a big old V8. So we should be getting far less power out of this, which would mean far greater efficiency. But I mean, I guess the 4S is putting a turbocharger on it because, and also I guess the heat, maybe it's a heat thing. There's our rollback. It's one of the better drag brakes that we've experienced recently. And again, why I'm so thankful for the comments. Never would I have said, and I've got an Integy 85 turn in there, which would be too slow. Now I'm going to peruse Amazon for cheapos. Is there something in between? In my memory, I'm trying to think. Have I seen a motor between 55 and 80? I don't think I have. Is there a 65 turn out there? I don't know. This is genuinely fun. And very potentially usable because the 80 turn is not overwhelmingly powerful. You pair it to 3S and it has just enough zoot and all the load speed control in the world. Did we collectively as a group, the supporters, the Canyoneros, the 404, did we just stumble upon maybe the perfect training setup? You give this to a kid, you give this to someone who's never driven a rock crawler before, this works. Like I'm all in on this. I am going to figure something. I've still got a base camp chassis in there. I've got some really junky axles. I might build something like the Trainer. Throw some Canyon trails on it. This thing will absolutely teach you how to drive. It can't go fast. It's got enough power to self-right. It's not fast. You could run this thing full speed into a rock and not hurt it. And it honestly, it pulls so hard. Trying to use all the wheel speed here. I want to see if we're smoking any pixies out, basically. Like, is this a long-term solution? I think the motor's going to be fine. because it's geared way down. I mean, you can tell by the speed. We're definitely not over-geared. It just feels good to drive. All right, let me touch it. It's not even warm. It's cooler than my skin. So will a Hackmoto 80 turn handle 4S for an extended period of time? Yeah, it doesn't even care. This is not a trailing setup. This is a pure rock crawling setup. It's so slow that moving from rock position to rock position, you almost just want to pick it up and carry it because you're like, ugh. I mean, okay, we'll exhibit here. We'll exhibit here yes, in case you hadn't detected, we are deep in the midst of the Midwest goodbye. And here is a combo, here is a motor ESC combo that we're 100% fine with 100% reverse. Because, like, here's cruise control, maxed out. I mean, this is glacial. But man, is it smooth. From the comments, so good. Keep it up, you beautiful, beautiful people. What a notion, what an idea to have. And I know I might have cross-interpreted the gentleman who said, put an 80 turn on there and see what it's like. I don't know if he intended put an 80 turn on 4S, but the 80 turn on 3S is, the 80 turn on 4S is so good. I'm not saying try it, but I'm also saying try it. If you've got a small child, 80 turn 4S, smooth, so smooth. And do we need to reiterate? That's wide open. It would take it like 30 seconds to drive out of frame on the other side of the yard. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna thank you so much for watching and commenting and everything that you all do, you wonderful people. Tune in for whatever we have next. And in between now and then, I invite you one and all to do your very best. Have a good one, everybody. You have plenty of time to do an outro when you're this slow. We'll see you in the next one, everybody.